Hello, this is Eduardo from Bricksmaven, and in this video, this is actually a part 2 video of the previous video where we actually looked at building this feature sticky intro section. So as you scroll down, your intro section stays sticky on top and the cards are spread out over the page, obviously within the context of the container that we're using. So this is what you get. And I added a section on top just to showcase a real page. You know, this would be the hero. You would scroll down, and then you see the features, and then you would see the testimonials. So in this video, what we're actually going to look at is the following. Where is it? Okay, here we are. I'm going to remove the hero because this is not needed. That was just to show how it would look like with a testimonial section and a hero section in it. So this setup, we used CSS Grid to build this, and we also used some styling here to actually position the cards on the grid. I wanted to create let me collapse this so I can show you guys. I wanted it to be scalable because the way I built it is not really scalable, right? In the sense of, if I was to duplicate another card, you would get the following. It will appear on top. So you would have to go to your sticky card. In this case, you'd have to copy code, paste it, then apply it to the correct row where it's supposed to be. So I think this is here. This should go, it could go all to the end, right? So it would be -1 and then to be 9. This is just an example, right? So for every extra new card you add, you would have to make that tweak. And if you were actually, let's say you were using a query loop, right? You were looping through a custom post type or different service. It could even be services, right? You would have to go back here and always determine where it will fall on your page. So we don't want to do that. We want this to work just seamlessly. You just add a new card and it automatically appears on the place where you want it to be. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to delete all these cards, because we need to do some rebuilding. I think I duplicated the card. Just going to remove all this stuff. And we need to do some rebuilding. So first things first, I will remove all this stuff. I only keep one. I'll also remove this because we don't need it anymore. Just leave that for now. Let me save. So all our work is gone. So what we want to do here is actually make sure that this grid will stay, but we're going to, instead of 12 columns, we'll set it to 1 column. So we got this is the first step. And we're actually going to go into this feature card, select the content. I'm going to wrap it in a block, and also put the image in this block. And I'll call this, I'll just call this inner, like an inner card. Let's give it a class. It will soon be clear what I'm trying to do here. It's better to show it than to explain it. This is inner. Of course, I'll also be explaining it while we go. So I just want this to stack on top of each other, right? And the card itself will be full width, sorry. And the inner, this will be like an inner, wrapper. This will act as the container, the inner container of the card. So instead of, because we know before we had a width on it, right? Go back to our layout, this width. We had a height. We had a height on it, yes. I'll remove it. And the width was determined by our grid columns before, right? So we gave it a specific area to cover. So I think the first one was between 9 and -1, right? So that determined the width. So here we have to determine the width ourselves, but the width will not come on the card because our card has to be full width. It will come on the inner section. So here, let me select the class. I'll say the max width should be M, right? So there we have it. Max width. And next thing that we need to do is also give it a height. I'll just give this also height of M. There we have it. Remove. We need to remove the relative on the future card, because the reason why we added the position relative on the feature card was so that the image can span the whole, can cover the whole card, right? But this in this example, or in this solution that we're creating to get our scalable system, the image has to fill the inner card, not the feature card. So we'll remove this, and then we'll go to inner. Now it's filling the whole screen because it's going to its next parent. So we'll say here position relative, so that it only covers the card. And as you can see now, we do get the right width, because before we already had the right width, but the image was automatically going to the feature card element. So here I remove the padding. Here we go. And on the inner, I will go to this is justify content end, because I want this to go all the way down. And here I'll add the padding, because we need some spaces on the sides. And now we're back to actually the card we had before. This is actually what we want. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it the way it is, because we're going to actually use CSS to position our cards within the feature card. And you will get a better idea once I start doing it. I'm going to recreate what we had before, and still using the min width, because when it's on the mobile landscape, I want it all to sort of stack on top of each other, but it will be clear when we get there. So first things first, what I want here is I want the items, in this case, the inner card, I want it to be aligned till the end, or in this case to the right. So say align items end, and it will be pushed to the end, because that's what we had the first time around. So next, what I want to do is, let me just duplicate the feature card. And now we run into the next issue, because now we'll still have the same problem where I need to say, okay, the second one, or I could do odd or even. But remember, in our first solution, we had the first 4 cards were positioned differently. So we need to come up with a solution that for every 4 cards, there'll be different positions. The way to do this is to make use, obviously, of the Nth-Child, but we have to do a calculation here, right? So we're going to do it this way. It's going to be 4n plus 1. That's the first one. And I'm going to do this 4 times. So, because like I said, we have 4 cards with 4 different positions. So I'm going to remove this, remove that, and this will be 2, this will be 3, and this will be 4. So what is going on here? Let me just explain it a little bit. So this 4n plus 1 means it will go through a step, like a count, right? So it's going to do 4 times 0, which is 0, plus 1, which is 1. So this styling will affect the first card. The second card, it will affect this. It will go through it again. 4 times 1, which is 4, plus 1 will be the 5th card, because that's what I want. I want the first card to have to be aligned to the end. I want the 5th card to be aligned to the end, and then I want the 9th card to be aligned to the end, and then the 13th, and so forth. So it will apply this styling to all those cards that have similar that have the correct number, right? So we move on to the second one. So we do it again. 4 times 0 plus 2, this will affect the second card. And then it will go on to affect the 6th card. Then to go on the 10th card, the 14th card. And the same here. 4 times 0 is 0 plus 0 plus 3 is 3 to affect the 3rd card. And then to start counting that way. So this is what we want. So now I'm just going to do it one by one. The second card was aligned correctly as it is right now, but it had like it was indented, right? There was some spacing on the left side. So what we need here is a padding, inline, start, and we could say space Excel. That's so it will only affect this it will only affect this card. So now next we just duplicate again. Go back to my sticky card, and here we want this to be aligned to the end. So I'm just going to copy this. I don't need to retype that. Let me just indent this styling. Wait, let's do this right. Actually, this needs some indenting. Here. Okay, so this aligns to the end, correct? But then on the third card, we want some spacing on the right or on the end. So end. So this is what you get. And then on the last card, I'm going to duplicate again. It then starts at the beginning, and it's actually correct. So I'm just going to add a line start, which is already by default, but I just want to make sure it's there. So this is by default a line start. So I put it in, and now this is actually how we have made it maintainable and scalable. Because what you get now, if I duplicate another card, you see it defaults to the left. Right, sorry. If I duplicate another card, it defaults to the second position with the card, the second one, right? And now you can actually run a query loop with no issues, because it just keeps on looping through, duplicating, and we have no issue. We don't need to touch any styling anymore. This is all we need right here. What we did right here is all we need. I had to ditch the CSS Grid and use Flexbox, which will make this much easier to do, because with CSS Grid, it's going to be hard to determine the grid row. So you will not come out with this result. So CSS Flex was the better way to go with this. So when I save this, and let's just go and see how this looks like. Obviously, I've removed everything here. You now get this. So you can just infinitely add cards and it will just adapt. So let's go and see how this looks on mobile landscape. This is what you get. Now I can come in here, make the inner card full width, etc. But I want to do something with it which makes it a little bit more playful, right? While also making sure that my intro section, which is here, I'm going to just remove the sticky. So I'll set this to static, and then I'll just unset this so it doesn't scroll anymore, as you can see. And then let's go back to our styling, because I want to change the media query there. So it's set to min width 767 pixels, right? So I'm going to change this to, let's see, to 478, so that we get this effect, which is still pretty cool, right? See, it's like a staircase, sort of like a staircase. And then on mobile portrait, it's stacked. So, and that is how we took this auto staggering section, which we manually created with CSS Grid, and have now created a scalable solution which scales with your services or your features. You can add more features to it without no issues, without touching code, without touching any styling, due to the styling we put in here, right? And it's even less code than we had before. And imagine if you have like 6, 10, 12, 20 cards, you would have to come, if we use the CSS Grid solution, you would have to come back here, add a new rule, add a new row, and just, yeah, it would be a nightmare to manage, right? Even though it might something you might do manually, would still be a better solution. Just if let's say even if you added 20 features, let's say for some reason you had to lose some features, you would have to delete them, then you have to come back to your code, delete your code again, you know, so you always have to do those manual editing, right? But this solution, you don't need to touch anything anymore. So that was it. I wanted to just keep it really short. Hope you guys like this tutorial. Like I said, just creating more videos, and just let me know what you think of this one. Give me some feedback. If you like it, you don't like it, and like the video, share the video, and you guys have a very nice day. Bye bye.